Penetration testing, a hands-on introduction to hacking, and your instructor for this accompanying lab. So this time we're going to take a look at another must-have tool for any web app security tester's arsenal, SQLMap. So this will help us with SQL injection, and basically, you know, the real basic about it would be SQL injection is messing with SQL queries to make the database give up things that it shouldn't, or execute things that it shouldn't, or whatnot. So basically, you know, if we send text and it gets put into a SQL statement, like if we're doing like select whatever we put in from a table, and we put something in besides, like if we're not selecting, I don't know, blue from the table, we select lots of SQL nonsense, and it can make the database do funny things indeed. But, you know, right now let's just get familiar with the tool. We'll move a little bit farther into injection attacks a bit later on. But that was probably the worst explanation of SQL injection ever. Like, somebody should write it down and give me an award for how not to explain SQL injection. Anyway, so we got a web app again. And so let's go there in our browser to .3. And this time we do just want to log into this application. It gives us the credentials right here at the top, debug, and log in. Of course, enter would be too easy. Log in. And we want to do the first SQL injection, I believe it is. So if we go to SQL injection and get search, yeah, the first one. So it's going to be a get request, and it's going to be a search. And click hack, and let's go ahead and hook up to Burp Suite just to grab our proxies and all that. Again, you can use this Foxy Proxy plugin that's really nice up here that'll automatically set our Firefox to talk to Burp Suite, come down to the Dragon, Web Application Analysis, and Burp Suite. Just click through the defaults here to start it. Yes, I know it's out of date. It will only get more out of date as the lab ages. So if we do a search for just like test here, it gets picked up by the proxy. Since this is a GET request, our parameters are in the URL. And so what we want to do is test to see if that title parameter where the user input is, because injection, well, most web application issues, to be honest, happen when there is user input involved that isn't perhaps tested as well as it should be for what kind of damage the user could do if they were malicious and put in something that wasn't nice there. So we want to test and see if that title parameter is vulnerable to SQL injection, and SQLMap is an amazing tool for doing that. Really amazing. I cannot stress how amazing. Anyway, let's pull up our terminal, and SQLMap is another one of those ones with syntax. So let's see, it's the URL, and you want quotes around it. So HTTP IP address, which is .3, and then copy paste out of here. This is the URL. And close our quotes. We do need to actually pull in the cookie as well. Otherwise, we won't be logged in. Since we are authenticated, we just want to grab the cookie from here. So this PHP session ID, semicolon, security level equals 0. Copy that as well and put that in the -- cookie parameter. So we're logged in, and SQLMap is able to see this. Put quotes around that as well. And -p for the parameter we want to attack. Ours is, remember, title, because that's where our test user input went. So title. And we start up SQLMap, and it says, it looks like the database is MySQL. Do you want to skip payloads for other databases? Yes. For extending level 1, sure. Yeah, why not? And it'll run for a sec, and it's checking, it's trying different stuff to see if it's SQL injection or not. It's pretty sophisticated what it can do. And it says the get parameter title is vulnerable. Do you want to keep testing others? No. And so it says that it is vulnerable, and it gives us a couple of example queries we can use to try and prove that it is. So like we can grab this first payload here. If we come back over to burp, we can send this guy to repeater. No, we don't. Yeah, let's send it to repeater. Why not? And so we haven't seen repeater yet, but this is, if we want to get, make changes to the request and send it, and then just get this response right over here, it's helpful. So we want to take out our parameters and replace them with what we just got. So, we got every title test, a bunch of SQL that, good luck if you can read it. And then, at the end, and action equals search. So should be pretty good. So if we send this and our response, you see at the bottom, error, you have an error in your SQL syntax. That is, classic. You have SQL injection here. You've screwed up the SQL query and something horrible has happened. So that is you're not always going to get the error printed out, but you get the error printed out. It's a pretty good indication you've got SQL injection, and now you can mess with the database. So how do we mess with the database? Well, I'm sure by now you figured out how much SQL I actually know. So, certainly we could do it all manually, but SQLMap is indeed very, very helpful at just knowing what the right syntax is and the right payloads and whatnot to get what we want. So if we do, let's just do the up arrow to get that back, because we're going to need our cookie and everything. But, okay, remembering MySQL. And so we want DBS for databases. And there's our databases that are available. Let's use this database, BWAP. And then, so you can do big D for database, WWAP, or BWAP rather. No, don't hit the caps lock key in the middle of this. Everything goes horribly wrong. And then we can do, I guess it's dash tables or dash T, probably dash T. And let's see what the manual says. It's dash tables. Tables. So those are the tables for that database. And then we can change that to dash T. This is where I got confused. Dash T. Why is my caps lock so angry? There. Dash T and users. And then we can get columns. The columns in that table, login, password, secret email, whatnot. So we can do, and then we can turn this into a dash big C. You can kind of see where this is going. And say let's get admin users, see what admin, email, password. And it's dash dump. And it actually says, it thinks it sees password hashes. Do we want to save them? No. Do you want to crack them? No, I don't want to crack them at this time, but that's pretty cool that it can. So here it grabbed the two admin users, and well, it looks like they're It's actually a duplicate, it looks like. So it's BWAP, a mailinator, and then a password hash. So pretty cool, right? We had to know like no SQL whatsoever to make that happen. And we were able to dump the database out. So SQLMap's really great for finding those SQL injections, as well as it's really good for, knowing the payloads to make things happen. So you don't have to know a ton of SQL to make it work. So yeah, pretty cool, right? So we will see SQLMap again. And like I said, it's definitely good to have in your arsenal.